diehard college football fan? Well, it's your lucky day. Join special WSN guests like Spencer Raxter, Flannel Sam, and more every Saturday. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Saturdays and tune in live from 8:30 to 10 a.m.
Good morning, everybody. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. I know what you're thinking. Why the hell are you guys late? I can explain.
We all can.
We can all explain. Traffic's a bitch out there. We showed up pretty much on the dot here, but I'm ready. We're fired up, ready to get it going. A lot to talk about. Thank you guys for sticking with us and being patient. Sam Flannel, mental health checkup. How you doing this morning?
I mean, I'm just peachy right now. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I am happy to do this show. I'm happy to be here. This is the new and improved Flannel Sam. Namaste. Namaste.
Well, you know, Aaron Rodgers seems like an Achilles injury at this point. I mean, if you were watching the game last night, and by the way, I just want to say this, all the jokes I have about Aaron Rodgers, like, that is just not, that's not ideal. Even for, I'm an NFL fan. I want to watch good games, and the fact that Aaron went down literally in 4 snaps, I was pissed off because I wanted to watch an actual game. I had to watch Zach Wilson out there. But regardless, Jets fans are in shambles this morning. And you know what? This very well might have ended Aaron Rodgers' career. I mean, he's 39 years old, an Achilles injury. He's out for the season. If it is an Achilles injury, that's what is expected. I mean, he's going to be 40 years old by the time he returns.
Oh, yeah.
And if he wants to keep playing, so be it. But that's a tough one, Sam Flannel.
Well, and honestly, Jets fans should absolutely be in shambles right now because did you see the way the defense played yesterday? The defense looked like it could be the best in the NFL, but the Jets are never going to win anything with Zach Wilson as their quarterback. And I think with a version of Aaron Rodgers, which I don't think would have been prime Aaron Rodgers, but better than last year, I think they were legit contenders and they would have won the division. I don't want to play the whole woulda, coulda, shoulda game because it's not going to happen because Aaron Rodgers is going to be out for the season. But to be fair, that defense looked even better than it did last year. Guys like Whitehead stepped up. Jermaine Johnson looks like he's going to be a guy. In addition to Quinnen Williams, Sauce Gardner, A.J. Reed, C.J. Mosley, all of that. It's a very, very sad day to be a Jets fan. I actually feel sorry for him, for sure.
No, it's super unfortunate. I mean, and I saw people chiming in here. Matthew says Packers won't get that extra first rounder because he didn't play 60% of the season, and there's that. Now, at least for the Jets, the defense is still an elite defense.
Yeah.
They still have a hell of a run game. I mean, those two looked good last night. Garrett Wilson's Garrett Wilson. It's just unfortunate because, you know, they do have a great roster, but you can't deny, even if he didn't get hurt last night, at some point, that offensive line, they were going to kill him at some point. That offensive line got picked apart by the Bills. I can't imagine what happens if they face even better competition. You know what? It's unfortunate, but I don't think, and Lucas, we kind of talked about this, that offensive line wouldn't have kept him alive for much longer.
Yeah.
I just don't see it.
And the thing is, it was Dwayne Brown. It wasn't even the tackle that people were worried about. People were worried about Dwayne Brown staying healthy. They were about Mekhi Becton just going out there and killing Aaron Rodgers, which is kind of exactly what happened, but it was in the first drive, torn Achilles. But even on the other side of the ball, I mean, Flannel, we got into it about Joe Burrow, about how bad he played. Josh Allen, he didn't look too much better. Not too much better.
Isn't it crazy that I would say the two quarterbacks who going into the season were the consensus second or third best QBs in the NFL, whatever order you want to put them in, had the single worst performances of the weekend? Joe Burrow had fewer than a 50% completion percentage, less than 100 yards, led his team to 3 points, and Josh Allen threw 3 interceptions and fumbled the football.
Hey, and the
Terrible.
other thing, the top 3 quarterbacks in the league all lost. All of them lost week 1.
Man, that AFC is, I mean, we're going to get into the top 10s later, but that AFC, all of the 3 teams that you expected to be right there lost in week 1. We don't know if, like, week 1, crazy things happened in week 1, but still.
Yeah, it really was. And that's why we had our little overreaction Monday yesterday because, I mean, if you told me before Patrick Mahomes' 70.5 QBR would land 8th in the NFL, at this point, I'd tell you you're crazy. But no, that's where we're at right now. It's been a weird week 1. Aaron Rodgers goes down. Teams that you expect to be dominant. The 49ers are really the only team to me that kind of lived up to what I thought they were. They just walked out and destroyed the Steelers. Besides that,
Cowboys too.
Yeah, and the Cowboys. That's true. But it was against the Giants.
Yeah,
but regardless, regardless, it was an interesting week one. Now that we kind of got through that, it's not really much to pick apart here. Zach Wilson will be the starting quarterback for the Jets moving forward. Okay, I mean, he looked like Zach Wilson last night. They did enough to win. They're 1-0, but what does that mean long term in that division? Even though they beat the Bills last night, we'll see. I think that was more just Josh Allen. I mean, 4 turnovers. It's hard to overcome 4 turnovers in the NFL. It's typically a one-score league week to week if you're doing things correctly. If you have 4 turnovers, Sam Flannel, it doesn't help your case. So we'll see what this means for the Jets moving forward. They're 1-0, but I think Jets fans are all sad, very sad this morning. Super Bowl hopes are crushed.
Well,
Super Bowl hopes are absolutely crushed.
Oh, they absolutely are crushed.
Oh, God, please, no! No!
They 100% are crushed. The one thing that I don't want to hear, the one thing that I'm sure I'm going to hear from Tom Mazaway on Ermanni and Edwards with Maz, I know that he's really heartbroken about the Aaron Rodgers injury because he is a fan of his like I am, and he's also like a fan of the Jets and the Giants as well as the Lions. But I don't want to hear anything about Zach Wilson being a winner or anything like that because he benefited from 4 interceptions and a game-winning punt return in overtime.
Yeah,
that never happens. That never happens.
That punt return was something. He was a star on Hard Knocks. Xavier, was it Simpson? Is that his last name? Either way, that kid, I was happy to see that too because he was on the fringe of getting cut. And he went out there, he made plays. So at least it ended like that. When Aaron Rodgers got hurt, I mean, we all know I was rooting for the Bills. When Zach Wilson started kind of going in there, I was like, oh, like I found myself rooting for the Jets just because it was like, this reminds me of something that would happen to the Lions. Like if the Lions were ever to get Aaron Rodgers or a quarterback of that caliber, I'm happy we have Goff. I'm just saying a hypothetical. That's exactly what would happen probably.
And you know what's crazy too is the Jets. This isn't the first time that this has happened. I mean, you go back and look at their starting quarterbacks and how their seasons have ended. They were going through it on the broadcast last night. Like back in the day, even on home openers for whatever reason, a Jets starting quarterback just goes down. I don't know, and maybe that's a curse with the Jets. I don't know what it means. But for Aaron Rodgers to join the Jets, everybody is hopeful. You got Greeny, who's excited, big Jets fan. He's crushed this morning.
Damian Woody.
Another one, Damian Woody. Testaverde, you go back to Vinny Testaverde, and he got injured in the home opener, tore his Achilles as well. And now Aaron Rodgers, you kind of fast forward, tears his Achilles on week 1. So, hey, I can't believe I'm saying this, but feels good to be a Lions fan this morning, huh?
It feels good to have a top
great.
3 offensive line in football and have 2 great tackles, a great center, a great guard, and another good guard right next to him. So we can protect Jared Goff. That's why when Brad Holmes took Penei Sewell, it wasn't the sexy pick. Possibly could have had Micah Parsons, but you knew that this rebuild was going in the right direction so you don't run into these situations where you have all this money invested into the weapons that you have, but it doesn't matter because you can't block for them. You can't keep them healthy. You can't keep them safe, especially when you got a back like Jahmyr Gibbs, rip back like David Montgomery. It's going to be even more beneficial.
And a shout out to Ryan, by the way, donated $5. He says if that's the end of Rodgers, then he's the 3rd best Packers QB ever.
Well, that's just asinine. Are you really going to say, who are you going to say? Bart Starr is better than Aaron Rodgers? You mean Brett Favre, the guy who threw more interceptions than any quarterback in the history of the NFL and basically spent the second half of his career like blowing playoff games with interceptions, throwing 20-plus interceptions in a season consistently? Come on now. Come on. And guys, I don't want to hear any gloating, any sort of dancing on Aaron Rodgers' grave because we all know that if this were Tom Brady and I tried to gloat, which I wouldn't, people would be outraged. Like, oh my God, how could you say that about his goatness, about the goat, about the man who walks on water? If anybody said that about Drew Brees, you would get crushed. If anybody would have even said that,
Drew Brees didn't deserve that.
Okay, but Aaron Rodgers, he got hurt. It was probably the last play he's ever played in his career. We shouldn't be dancing like just being like joyous about it or anything like that. Like if this happened to, like I said, Drew Brees, even Phillip Rivers, even Matt Ryan, even latter career Ben Roethlisberger, we would be looking at this as a football tragedy. But some people with Aaron Rodgers just want to laugh and key and ha ha ha. That is just, man. People like that, I just don't understand.
And you know what's crazy too? I mean, it's an interesting storyline because David Bakhtiari tweeted out. He said, "Congrats NFL. How many more players have to get hurt on artificial turf? You care more about soccer players than us. You plan to remove all artificial turf from the World Cup coming up. So clearly, it's feasible. I'm sick of this. Do better." So regardless, an Achilles injury was the worst possible outcome. The worst.
Yeah.
I saw a bunch of Twitter doctors saying, it could be, dislocated ankle. It could be a high ankle sprain.
Yeah.
Like, if you know anything and you've been watching sports for a while and you see Achilles injuries, you know what they look like, right? There's a certain movement. It happened to Tracy Walker last year when he got hurt. Like, you knew that was Achilles. When you watch the replay, how he was moving. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. I didn't want it to be. And even though, for me, and I don't think the Jets were ever going to win the Super Bowl, I want to watch the Jets with Aaron Rodgers.
Sure.
Like, as a fan. So, trust me, even me, it sucks. Can't imagine how a Jets fan feels this morning.
I'm wondering with the turf how much the weather beforehand played into the conditions of the field.
And it was raining. Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah, the Jets are pretty much, as a franchise, cursed and allergic to having good quarterback play. I mean, you mentioned, like, Sam Darnold was drafted to be the savior. He flamed out. Mark Sanchez was drafted to be the savior, and he had a couple years where the team went to the playoffs, but the Jets made the playoffs in a year where Sanchez threw 12 touchdowns and 20 interceptions.
Oh, my
He was
God.
terrible.
Is that a real stat line?
Look it up. His rookie season, they made the playoffs, 12 touchdowns, 20 interceptions. It might have been 13 and 20, but still, it's one or the other.
That's wild.
And then you look back at some of the best quarterbacks in Jets history, being Chad Pennington and Ken O'Brien and Richard Todd, of all people, and Joe Namath. I know Joe Namath won a Super Bowl, but he is overrated as hell. Look at those stats. Look at those seasons where he threw way more interceptions than touchdowns. So the Jets as a franchise, I think as time goes on, especially since this Aaron Rodgers signing doesn't look like it's going to work out, they might be looked at someday the same way the Lions have been looked at, as one of the worst franchises in the NFL. Maybe the worst. We shall see.
I love this comment, too. Don Beat says, I stopped watching the game when he went down. I wasn't interested no more. I'm going to be honest with you. That was me, too.
I know. I thought it was a good game.
Well,
I still watched.
I watched up until the third quarter, and I went to bed. I'm like, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to see if Josh Allen found a way to blow that game, and he did.
He did.
He did. He literally, Flannel, what were you getting on, and deservingly so, I'm not making excuses, what were you getting on Joe Burrow about? Just dropping a snap. And fourth down inside your own 30, fourth quarter inside your own 30 with 4 minutes left, Josh Allen just fumbles that ball, gives it right back to the Jets defense, and Zach Wilson in good position. Man, that was a good game. I still thought it was a really good game after Aaron Rodgers got hurt.
Look, nobody says, I will laugh and key, Sam Flannel. There you go. I'll tell you what, we'll go to break. We get back. I want to bring up something that Dan Campbell's talked about yesterday in his press conference. And he was talking about Ford Field this Sunday and what he expects. And that man...
He has some expectations.
He's got some, all right. I mean, he said Arrowhead was loud, but Ford Field can be louder. We'll talk about that and more when we come back. Could Ford Field be the best home field advantage right now in the NFL with how crazy these fans are?
Inside, too.
We'll discuss it when we come back. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at SMA. Our friends, because the sports marketing agency helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Their new podcast, this is The S Word, helps fight the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, head to thesportsma.com. It is thesportsma.com.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions Show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle D. Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
Hey, this is Mr. Kearney, Chief Academic Officer at Academy of Warren. I want to welcome you to the brand new field house. The state-of-the-art facility has a regulation basketball court, volleyball court, soccer field. It can be used for 7-on-7 football. Our K-8 academic features AM, PM, latchkey, small classroom sizes, Learning Street, futuristic media center, free breakfast and lunch, Houghton Mifflin curriculum, academic games, K-8 athletics, and more. Enroll today at academywarren.net.
Wondering where the best Lions tailgate is? That's easy. Eastern Market, the official Detroit Lions tailgate party at Shed Number 5 in Eastern Market. Woodward Sports will be broadcasting live for every home game. 3-star Michelin buffet featuring Chef Aaron May, VIP parking, and even tickets if you need them. How do you sign up? Go to bullseyeeventgroup.com and tailgate like a VIP. That's bullseyeeventgroup.com.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Again, if you haven't already, hit the like button on the stream. It does help us, helps the channel, helps the show. So, big appreciate you guys for that. Let's talk about what Dan said yesterday, because he spoke about Ford Field and what he expects the environment to be like. And obviously, they played in Arrowhead, which you could argue is one of the loudest, if not the loudest, arena to play in the NFL. Dan Campbell thinks Ford Field can contend to that. And there's a part of him where I actually believe him. And it's not because there's a long history of winning in Detroit or anything like that. I just think Lions fans are partial crackheads in the most nicest way. Like, it's just true. Like, these fans are starving. And you don't think the home opener, you're 1-0, you just beat the Chiefs, and now you're hosting the Seahawks, who beat you last year. That place is going to be the loudest arena, in my opinion, in the entire NFL. Because what other fan base is showing up like that this early? I mean, Kansas City showed up for the home opener, but it took a little bit of the juice out of the arena. You don't have Chris Jones. You don't have Travis Kelce. This Lions team's healthy. That arena is going to be loud. And I would argue, I would make the argument that despite not having recent success or success in over 30 years, it could be the loudest arena and probably the best home field advantage, I think, in the NFL, just because of how crazy and how starving the fans are. And it's indoors, too, like Lucas brought up.
Look at how they turned out to Kansas City. I mean, the amount of Honolulu blue, and I can't remember who said it, but they're like, I have been to home openers, and nobody has infiltrated the opposite team's stadium as soon and as much as the Lions fans did for Kansas City. They really did that. Now, imagine that here. Imagine that same energy, like, times 500.
In that dome, Sam Flannel, I think Seattle, if I were them, you're 0-1, you're showing up to Ford Field, you better bring earplugs, because it's gonna be hard to hear, especially offensively. So I think Dan's onto something there, Sam.
We
Flannel.
got a video of Dan talking about it. If you want real quick.
Here's Dan Campbell talking about the home field advantage the Lions will have this Sunday.
So, yeah, I'm expecting it to be loud. I'm expecting, I know what Arrowhead is, and it was loud. I expect it to be louder than that. I really do. I just know our fans. I mean, and it's going to be, it'll be to the point where you can't hear yourself think. So, for them anyway.
I mean, Lucas, we were at the preseason game, and that it was a preseason game, the first preseason game at Ford Field. That place had to be sold out, and it was loud. So think about that. Preseason, meaningless game, second and third stringers playing. Place was sold out. It was loud as hell. I can't imagine for a regular season game, Sam Flannel, when you start 1-0 after beating the Chiefs.
Well, of course, the Lions fans are starved for a winner more than I think any franchise in any sport in all of America right now. And I think the field at Ford Field is going to be rocking in a way that we've really never heard it. Even that Javid Best game. I know that's always one that's looked at as when Ford Field was rocking the most, but I think this is going to usurp that by a magnitude of maybe 2. Honestly, I think it'll be that electric. And many things can be true about this whole situation. A, I think the Lions will win 12 games and win the division and win a home playoff game. B, I think the Lions will have one of the most dominant home records in the NFL. And C, I think that the loudness of the arena will cause a lot of, I would say, pre-snap penalties by opponents throughout the year. The one thing that makes me a little bit uncomfortable about this conversation, Jeff, you mentioned this. You kind of slipped this in under the radar, and you think it might have gotten past people, but I listen to everything. You talk about the Detroit Lions possibly having the best home field advantage in the NFL. That type of talk, and I'm not trying to be mean, I'm talking is going to make we as Lions fans hated as being arrogant and over their skis for having done nothing yet.
I'm cool with it.
Okay, fine.
Let him. I have an answer to that, but explain.
Okay, that's all well and good. We're talking about a team, and I know we're talking about this year's home field advantage that last season had a 9-8 record, didn't make the playoffs, and was 5-4 at home. 5-4. And this is a team that plays at Ford Field. an arena that was open in 2002. How many playoff games has Ford Field hosted since 2002?
See, there's your problem.
0.0.
What do you mean? There's your problem. You're going to success. This has nothing to do with success.
But it should have something to do with
It
success.
doesn't.
When we're talking about it being a loud arena and
Yes.
stuff like that, obviously it's going to be loud. But we can't call it the best home field. They haven't even played a home game this year.
Yeah,
Not one.
But I said earlier, it has nothing to do with success. It's not like, okay, you're not allowed to be a loud arena unless you have a Super Bowl. Like that, I'm talking about the people that are going to show up in the at least the aura around Lions fans right now. They're crazy. They're starving for success. There's Chiefs fans. They're fed. They're watching Patrick Mahomes. They're blessed to have that opportunity. Lions fans have not had an opportunity in quite some time. They made the playoffs at least recently, in the 2010s era. But regardless, they didn't win anything. This has nothing to do with playoff success. This has everything to do with the hype around the Lions and Lions fans. For the first time in Ford Field history, Sam Flannel, home tickets are sold out for season ticket holders. I know that arena is going to be packed. That's my point. I think it could be the loudest arena, and it's going to be sold out pretty much every home game. That's my point. Not because they have to earn the home field advantage. It doesn't work. No. Show up, be loud. That's how you have a great home field advantage, and I think Lions fans will do that.
Okay, that's fair. And for the record, I do think it's going to be a very, very loud arena, and I think it might be one of the loudest in the NFL.
There you go.
But when you're talking about best home field advantage, you can't say that
Give me
yet.
the best.
You have to do something.
Arrowhead?
I mean, did Arrowhead get
They just
torn
walked
down?
in there and whooped their ass.
Oh, so every single thing that the Kansas City Chiefs have accomplished in the past 5 years is basically deemed null and void because the Lions went in and beat them. This is why people are going to hate us, guys. This is why people are going to hate us. The Lions haven't done anything yet. Do I think that they're going to do something great this year? Absolutely. But can we just pump our brakes a little bit?
Well, let me ask you this, Flannel. So, okay, not saying what you said is incorrect about the winning and the success from the Lions in the past, but let's critically think about this. If the Lions are winning and they have one of the loudest stadiums in the NFL, which the fact that they're inside of a dome is going to do that when you have this many people that are jacked up, that is going to be a hard place to play. There's no denying that. Like, it doesn't matter how good a team has been for 80 years, how good they're going to be for 80 more years. This season, the Detroit Lions look really fucking good. And us Lions fans are really fucking excited. So I agree with you that it's not going to be like, should be known as the hardest place to play because of the fans. They've been doing it for years. But Lions fans are not going to make it easy for teams to be audibling at the line. They're all going to have to go off of quick, quiet counts. It's going to be tough to play in Detroit if that place is rocking. And I don't think that's extreme to say. It's not like we're putting up against the all-time fan bases of all time and saying that this is what the Lions are. But if you're talking about a team that's 12, 13 wins, and that stadium is just rocking and rocking and rocking because it hasn't been able to since 1992.
Yeah,
I don't think it's not that hard to fathom. I get what you're saying, but I just think you're looking at it at a different angle of just like, we're not saying it's up there with the Arrowheads right now. But for this season, at least for 2023, it's going to be a damn hard place to play.
Yeah, I think it's going to be
Lions
one of the
fan.
loudest. And I think it could challenge the loudest. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they're, like Arrowhead is kind of deemed the right, and I know someone I think it was Ryan who put in the chat that the Guinness World Record, the loudest arena was Arrowhead, but guess what? They've had success. The Lions are just sniffing it. Now, if they can keep winning, Sam Flannel, you can't deny Ford Field. It's sold out, and with those fans, they're crazy.
Oh,
that place is gonna be unreal.
Oh, it is absolutely going to be unreal. I'm just saying, if we're talking about the best home field advantage in the NFL, let them have that 7-1 home season that I think they're going to have this year, which I do, before we engage in that kind of talk. That's all I'm saying.
And Chuck Brewer says Detroit fans are the only team to ever get penalized for being too loud. I know someone else put in here too about the Monday Night Football game against Chicago back in the day, and you forced all those false starts. Like, I think this arena could challenge at least at that time. Like, I do think it's a new era for Lions football, and like you said, last 2 years you haven't really been able to say that because the Lions haven't been good. Now, at least this year we expect to win 11, 12 games. Man, especially hosting a playoff game. Like, the regular season's going to be loud as hell, but my gosh, Sam, you host a playoff game at Ford Field. Those fans, I can't imagine. And by the way, it's going to come to a point where Jared's like, all right, quiet the hell down. That's what I think in terms of how loud the arena is. I do think it could challenge being one of the loudest in the NFL. Maybe during the regular season. I know other teams have had playoff success. I'm not completely dismissing that. But man, these Lions fans, you talk about fan bases that are starving for success. There ain't another fan base that's starving like the Lions.
No,
that are in this position.
No,
hell yeah.
No, there 100% isn't. And like I said before, this isn't me attacking Lions fans or saying that the arena isn't going to be deafeningly loud pretty much every moment of every game. I'm just saying that we as Lions fans, I think we're going to struggle moving forward, especially as we have success. We have to recognize we're not the only team with good players. We're not the only team with loud stadiums. We're not the only team with good teams. And I feel like sometimes even when Lions are bad, we kind of suffer from that just like one-ism where we're just so insulated with us Lions fans and the Lions team. I just don't like the idea of already saying best home field advantage in the NFL. It actually makes me cringe as a Lions fan.
I think it can be. That's my point. They haven't played a home game yet, but I think after this weekend, you're going to be like, holy hell, that arena's rocking. Jesse Adams says, Jeff, tell your friend Sam that his hero, Aaron Rodgers, has said Ford Field is one of the loudest if they are good. We are good now.
Sure.
Just wait for the home opener.
Sure.
And I mean, think about it. Back in the day when the Legion of Boom was in Seattle, Seattle wasn't much of a franchise before that point. And now when they were good, they were rocking. They were by far the loudest stadium and hardest place to play in the NFL. The only advantage that I could see, to your point, Flannel, is the fact that the Lions are in a dome. You go to Buffalo in December, it's going to be snow, and you go to all those other places, Lambeau. So that's what I could see as far as hardest place to play. But the atmosphere, Ford Field in Detroit's going to be up there with the tops in the league this year. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
I really do believe that. Brandon says, did you hear that? Sam's attacking Lions fans. You're not attacking Lions fans. You're just a little more... You're not stoked. You're a little scared now. You don't think, hey, well, maybe, Ford Field, I think it'll be a very, very fine arena. I think it could be very loud, but I'm putting my balls on the table, Sam. I think it could challenge being the loudest, the most electric arena in the NFL this year, just based on if the Lions have success, of course. But that home field advantage is real, and I think it's going to be real this Sunday. Seattle's going to struggle out there. I know it. Especially if they're missing one of, and we'll get to that later, one of, if not both, their tackles.
They're both going to be out.
False start galore out there. So it's going to be a lot of fun this weekend. We'll break more of the game down as the week goes by. But I wanted to bring that up because Dan, I think, is onto something there. We'll go to break when we get back. I do want to bring up just last week's game again, but kind of point out what players stood out to you and think that player specifically can build on that this week against Seattle. Offensively and defensively. We'll give you our players and much more. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at Randy Wise, because what could be better than watching celebrities like Braylon or D-Mac play golf? Well, playing golf yourself and being treated like a celebrity. That's what. Stop in any Randy Wise dealership for your chance to play golf like a celebrity. VIP transportation, free golf to one of Michigan's best tracks, and a tasty steak after compliments of Fairway Packing. Make the wise decision and get to Randy Wise today for your chance to win.
Calling all landscapers. This is Darren McCarty. I'm at Outdoor Equipment Co. How would you like to landscape like a legend? How about a bad boy zero turn? And even a chainsaw. And even a weed whipper. So register today at OutdoorEquipCo.com, and even you could have D-Mac on your landscaping crew.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Your home is your most important asset. Flexibility in the sales process is key. When you work with Mark White & Associates, you can cancel at any time, for any reason, without penalty. Speaking of flexibility, check this out. Who you work with matters. Hire the best broker in the game.
How would you like to win a $100K Vegas getaway? Get away to the city that never sleeps. It's the Cintron Energy. Drink it and live it. Purchase a 24-pack today and enter to win. Register at drinkcintron.com/Vegas and buy Cintron at your local Meijer store. Cintron, the healthier energy drink with great taste. Look good, feel great, and be the best version of yourself with Cintron. That's drinkcintron.com/Vegas.
We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Plenty to get to. I wanted to discuss something, just players. It's regarding the players for the Detroit Lions last week against the Chiefs, who showed out offensively and defensively. But of those players, is it somebody that can build on it this week against the Seattle Seahawks? Who's somebody that you're watching out for against the Seahawks? I'll start with you, Sam Flannel. We'll start offensively. Give me a player offensively you're going to be watching and keyed in on this weekend that can build off what they did last week.
Well, I think one of the stars of last week's game was none other than Josh Reynolds. He actually led the team in receiving yards. He had even more than Amon-Ra St. Brown. He had 4 for 80, which was honestly one of the best games of his career, considering it's Josh Reynolds. And on that game-winning touchdown drive, he had that big 33-yard catch and run that took the ball to the Kansas City 14 and, of course, helped set up that David Montgomery game-winning touchdown run. And one of the reasons I think Josh Reynolds' emergence in this last game was so important is because we all talked about going into the season with Jamison Williams out, with the Denzel Mims debacle. Were the Lions deep enough at the wide receiver position? Did they have somebody who could even be a number 2 wide receiver for a game? And Josh Reynolds did just that for one game, especially considering the fact that Marvin Jones, a guy that Lions fans I think expected maybe not a lot of, but at least some consistency, at least holding onto the ball, Marvin Jones was an absolute abject disaster in that game. And he was.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, Flannel.
And think about this, just a side statement. If you would have told me that Marvin Jones would have had the game that he would have had, especially since J-Mo was out for the first 6 weeks and the Lions would have won, that would have been unfathomable to me. But that is what happened. And one of the big unsung heroes of that game was Josh Reynolds and how he stepped up. And what have we always said? That connection that he has with Jared Goff. He's pretty much played with him his entire career, both in Los Angeles and in Detroit. And ever since Josh Reynolds has been here, I'm not saying he's the main reason, but Jared Goff has played pretty damn well. So I think he is a guy that maybe can fill the role of the number 2 wide receiver, maybe even consistently, at least till Jamison Williams gets back, and maybe, just maybe, Josh Reynolds' breakout season incoming. And I don't think that's crazy.
No,
well, it's
what
not.
do you mean by breakout? Just so you're not getting flamed, we're not holding you to a standard that you didn't really want there. What do you mean breakout for Josh Reynolds? What are you thinking, Flannel?
I believe
statistically,
I believe his career high in receiving yards is 618. I expect him to set his career high this year.
Okay.
JB, I'm gonna need a beat. Because I'm going to give mine. And I'm with the people on this, okay? And by the way, before we get into mine, I don't think you could just slide what just happened in there. What's going on in that booth? It seems like you got your own safety blanket.
Yeah, there was a couple of things. First off, shout out Booner, happy birthday. And then that traffic this morning was stressing me out.
So
I left an hour and a half early. I usually get here around like 7:15. I leave my house at 6:15 normally. I got here at 7:50. You drove, doesn't matter which way you were going this morning. You could be going north, traffic. If you want to get off and go west, traffic. You want to turn all the way around, go home, and go south, traffic. This was a long morning, but you know what? It's still a Lions victory week. We're still going to be having a good day, and happy birthday, Booner, baby.
Well, Detroit Dabber 313 says that's a Toledo coffee. Is that true?
Oh.
Is that Toledo coffee?
This would be like a decaf.
Okay, the Miller Lite.
Yeah.
By the way, happy birthday to Booner, man. Big time. Shout out to him.
Happy birthday, Booner.
I want to say, and for my pick offensively, I'm going with the rookie, Jahmyr Gibbs, the easy one. And I'll tell you why. Dan Campbell talked about it. He kind of already discussed it. They want to utilize him a lot more moving forward, but you can't deny in the small sample size that you saw to Jahmyr Gibbs, he was special. 7 carries, 42 yards. When he touched the football, plays were made. It sounds a lot similar of somebody else you have to see a lot more of that's out the first 6 games. But for some reason, the ball's in his hands. He gets big gains, especially in the passing game. 2 for 18, two targets, 2 catches. I think he's utilized a lot more, especially against Seattle in the passing game. So I think there's a lot more for Jahmyr Gibbs to show, and I expect to watch him this Sunday and see him break out even more. So Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm excited for, man. This home game coming up, he'll be a breakout player. That's mine.
I'm going to take this kind of an angle a different way. I'm going to go with guys that I thought kind of disappointed and need to step up. And Flannel hit it on the head. Marvin Jones. He's not the most talented player, but he's expected to carry some weight with this offense, especially being a veteran that's been in Detroit before. And the thing is like I talked about it on Monday, it's like he looked good out there until the ball was in his vicinity. Like running routes, he did not look like the oldest wide receiver in the league. He was still running crisp routes. He made some great attempts at catches, didn't catch it, and obviously that fumble. He needs to pick it up over the course of the season if the Lions want to stay productive offensively consistently, because there's going to be games where it just happens, where they're not going to be able to force the way that they want to run the ball, and they're going to have to lean on Jared Goff in the arm. That's just going to happen at some point in the season, and with Jamison Williams being out, Marvin Jones has to step a little bit, especially in the red zone with him being such a big body.
Yes.
You can't be coughing it up inside the red zone, so he's got to step it up. I think he will, but that's one guy that definitely needs to improve.
Yeah, you better hope. You've been
Yeah,
telling
for
me.
my sake, I was hyped for Marvin.
Yeah,
man.
you were selling me all the fool's gold with Marvin Jones.
Well, okay, I said he was going to be like 400, 500 yards, but he'd be consistent. That was the thing with Marvin Jones. I love Marvin Jones because he was a consistent veteran that's been here before, and he shit the bed first week, but he can only get better. He only up from
better than DJ Chark, I was told.
Can I add another veteran in there that I want to see improvement of? Cam Sutton.
Cam Sutton?
Just like, gotta make a tackle.
Yeah, Cam Sutton to me this week is going to be uber important. I mean, you got a trio of wide receivers, and, you know, I'm assuming Emmanuel Mosley comes back, right? I'm assuming he'll be back this week. We'll see. Cam Sutton's going to be matched up with either DK or Tyler Lockett, so big time for
Part of my
Cam
problem
Sutton.
with this is that Marvin Jones Jr. and Cam Sutton both performed in training camp leading up to this game, so I'm hoping it's just like the veterans needing a little bit more to shake off in this first game going into the second game, but for how positive they performed in training camp, I was expecting more of them in game one.
Yeah, what about you, JB? Who do you got offensively?
Offensively,
Anybody you're paying attention to?
I gotta go with Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, we've seen a little bit of sample size from him in that first game, and obviously you don't want to show all of your tricks that you have up your sleeve, Ben Johnson, for Jahmyr Gibbs, but you've seen what little he could do with the very opportunities that he had. Now you want to see him build off of that, and I think this could be that next step. So give me Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm
excited, man. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's must-see TV. He just is. Every time he has the football in his hands, just plays seem to be made. You know, it is what it is. For me, defensively, the player I'm watching, paying attention to this week, you guys know where I'm going with this.
Who is it?
Josh Pascal. Josh Pascal, baby.
Give you your credit real quick. Let me give you your credit. He looked good. They played him on the inside, and Jeff, he performed exactly like you wanted him to. You're spot on about him, especially in week one.
I'm just excited, man. I mean, he's a guy that, again, you could utilize all over your defensive line. He's versatile, and we had this convo, Lucas, kind of talking about the defensive line. Pascal's another guy that you can use inside. I mean, Bugs was out, but it didn't seem to matter. You have guys like Pascal or even Levi Onwuzurike that you can move around the defensive line. Pascal, to me, you can use him on third down to get after the quarterback. You could use him on first down to try and stop the run. I love him. I love his versatility. You saw the big play he made on fourth down as well. Pascal is going to be a guy I'm watching and keying in on as the games go by here. So, Sam Flannel, give me your defensive player. Who you got?
Oh, Josh Pascal is a great choice. But first, we have to talk about where you can go for the best Lions post-game coverage after every game, including that amazing post-game show that we did at Woodward Sports on Thursday night. Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and, of course, Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions post-game show after every Lions game all season long. Tune in on the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Maz and special guests each week directly following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel. So the player that I am choosing as a defensive standout and somebody that I look to have another big game against the Seattle Seahawks, I would go with Aiden Hutchinson, but more on him a little bit later in a little separate segment. I am going to go with Aleem McNeil.
There you
kind
go.
of one of the unsung heroes of the game, a guy whose impact really isn't going to show in the stat sheet as much as you would think, but still, he was one of those guys that was just filling gaps, playing great in run defense, while basically helping hold Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Isaiah Pacheco in check. The only Kansas City runner who got off was Patrick Mahomes, but the running backs did virtually nothing, and a lot of that had to do with Aleem McNeil and him filling gaps, getting off blocks. He even made a couple of tackles, and he was even credited with a quarterback pressure. And I think it's even more impressive because what Aleem McNeil was doing, this was on a defensive line that didn't have Broderick Martin, a guy who was drafted as one of the ways in which Brad Holmes addressed the defensive line. And Aleem McNeil, he had to shoulder a bigger load, and I consider this game, given the circumstances, given it was at Arrowhead, one of the best games Aleem McNeil has ever played. It reminded me a little bit of a poor man's Derek Brown, the type of impact that he had against Kansas City in week 1 at Arrowhead, and I'd like to see him continue that against Seattle with the depleted offensive line. I know the guards are both playing, but still, and Kenneth Walker is a back in the backfield that is going to need Aleem McNeil to make some plays against him, so I'm going to go with Aleem McNeil.
You're going to need a Aleem McNeil kind of resurgence from last year against the Giants. You're going to need that type of performance. What about you, Lucas? What do you think?
I'm going to stick with a guy who, I wouldn't say he played bad, but definitely needs to step it up, and that's Kirby Joseph.
There you go.
Kirby Joseph, he struggled a little bit in coverage. In the first half, they got him on that corner route where they motioned the X-wide receiver in the slot, and there was a little bit of miscommunication in the secondary, and then it was Kirby's guy, and that was a crucial big gain. And then later on in the game, I believe it was at the end of the second half, they're in zone coverage, and they ran another corner to the opposite side, and it was in Kirby's zone. So I want to see Kirby step it up. I don't think he played bad, but again, we saw what Kirby was capable of last year with the turnovers and even those big hits that he was laying down when receivers go through the middle. If he can do that consistently against this secondary or against these receivers, against Seattle, I think it's the key to the game because you already know CJ's going to be balling out. I understand he dropped 2 picks, but the man still put an imprint on the game. If he doesn't make that pass breakup on Sky Moore, the Lions don't win that game. So if CJ keeps playing this the way he does and then Kirby steps it up as well, this is the top 3 at the bare minimum safety duo in the NFL.
That's the thing about Kirby Joseph too. Love him. He's a ball hawk. At least that's what I think he'll become even more of as his career advances. But for me, with Kirby, is the coverage stuff. Like it goes back to last year. If he's not creating turnovers, he just seems sometimes to just be out of position.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, and that's the trade-off, right? He's a big playmaker, but you don't want it to be at the expense of big gains. So Kirby Joseph's a great one. What about you, Gabby? One more player defensively. I know you mentioned Cam Sutton, but anybody you're watching this
I'm
week?
going to go off of what Lucas said because I want to see Kirby do so well and pop off and have that energy because in training camp we saw him have that same energy, that same fire that CJ Gardner-Johnson has, especially when those two are playing off of each other. If they both have a fantastic game, that's the kind of energy that I want Lions fans to see on their screen and on the field is those two playing so well and bringing that fire energy-wise to the team. What
about you, JB? One more player defensively. Who are you keying in on this week?
I know Sam has a take on this guy a little bit later on the show, but I am going with Aiden Hutchinson just because we want to see a big jump and leap and improvement from this guy, and it showed in that Chiefs game as well too. The non-stop effort that this man has. I need him to get after Geno Smith on Sunday, and I definitely believe he will.
You need a big game out of Aiden, and we're going to talk about him in a couple minutes here because I do think his performance last week needs to be discussed. I mean, he tied his career high in pressures in one game. He did it in arguably the biggest game of the year. Game 1 against the Chiefs. I don't give a damn. Chris Jones was out, but guess what? Aiden plays defense. Didn't matter to him. He faced that offensive line that you would say is one of the better offensive lines in the league, and he got after it. Didn't have a sack, but what a performance for not having a sack. It was unreal what Aiden did. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes here, but first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Planet Fitness because Planet Fitness is the home of the judgment-free zone where anybody, and we mean anybody, can feel comfortable and work on their fitness goals. They're here to help you build a lasting, active lifestyle. At Planet Fitness, you'll experience a squeaky clean gym that has tons of equipment, a full-body workout in just 30 minutes. Again, visit www.planetfitness.com and sign up today.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, 2 of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune in to the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder.
Come to Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate, along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
Let me tell you about our friends over at the Academy of Warren, because they have a brand new state-of-the-art sports dome field house that has a regulation basketball court, volleyball court, and soccer field. Different features that they also have, free breakfast and lunch, futuristic media center, small classroom sizes, and much more. All you got to do is enroll your child today. theacademyofwarren.net. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. If you haven't already, hit the like button and subscribe, because we're almost at 50K subscribers and we're coming close, so we got to hit it. Appreciate you guys for supporting the show. Don't forget, if you can't watch the show live, you can always go back, re-listen on any podcast platform you get your podcast. Morning Woodward Show, leave a 5-star review. I want to bring up Aiden Hutchinson because it was hard not to last segment. I know, for players we're watching, Aiden's obviously going to be one of those guys, and JB kind of summed it up very nicely there. Aiden, this is why you drafted him, right? You have a mismatch this week potentially, and it's already being reported that the Seattle Seahawks are calling up Jason Peters, 40-year-old Jason Peters, to potentially come play left tackle. There you go. And Charles Cross is week to week right now with turf toe. And the Seahawks are bringing in potential Hall of Famer offensive tackle Jason Peters on a visit tomorrow. The 9-time Pro Bowler is 41, but not done yet. I think he's done. The interest is real. No, he's done. He's 41 years old. That man is barbecue chicken if he starts against Aiden Hutchinson. He's going to learn. So regardless, if Jason Peters is there or not, he's solid. He's probably better than whatever backup tackle they have. You saw that last week against the Rams. But regardless, Aiden has to show up. Big time. He's got to come out and wreck this game, Sam Flannel. I'll share my thoughts after you, but your thoughts on Aiden this week.
Well, Aiden Hutchinson, we've already talked about it. He didn't get a sack, but he was getting constant pressure on Patrick Mahomes. He had the most pressures. He's tied for the most pressures he's ever had in an NFL game. And you saw how much it affected Mahomes, how it affected the timing, how it affected Patrick Mahomes having to escape the pocket before he wanted to, throw before he wanted to. And so Aiden Hutchinson, if it wasn't for us doing a whole segment on him, I would have definitely highlighted him as the defensive player of the game last week, and certainly one moving forward. I expect in this matchup against Geno Smith and that offensive line against the Seahawks at Ford Field, I want Aiden Hutchinson to get 2 sacks on Geno Smith. I have him getting 15, so at some point, I know pressures are as good as sacks, but I still want him to get that 15 so bad. But at the same time, when it comes to edge rushers, I've always said this, it's not all about sacks. So getting that many pressures on a quarterback, certainly in a win, certainly in a game in which you held a Patrick Mahomes-led offense to 20 points, is a phenomenal performance. But this week, especially given the fact that the Seahawks might be without their 2 tackles, certainly without one, and they're talking about bringing in Jason Peters, a guy who I respect, a guy who is probably going to be in Canton one day, but also a guy who's had a lot of injuries, is 41 years old, and hasn't been in the NFL hasn't been a Pro Bowler since 2016. If they bring in Jason Peters, the Seahawks, to take any snaps against Aiden Hutchinson cold and with no practice with this team, it might as well be considered, and I mean this respectfully, elder abuse. Because that is exactly what Aiden Hutchinson is going to do to Jason Peters. And I expect him to do that to dominate whoever the Seahawks put at tackle. I believe Aiden Hutchinson, and I don't think this is a hot take, when we talk about defensive players of the week, that is Aiden Hutchinson's to lose.
And you go back to Aiden's, at least one of his first handful of games. He played Seattle, and if for people that don't know, 2 rookie tackles, and Aiden kind of struggled in that game. But also, it was only, his 4th game in the NFL. So this is a year now into the NFL. He's much more experienced. He looks a lot stronger this offseason. I expect Aiden to wreck this game. You got to take advantage. Both their tackles are hurt. We'll see as the injury report kind of comes out closer to the game. We'll see if they're playing or not. But you have Geno Smith, who's less mobile than Patrick Mahomes, but semi-mobile, in an offensive line that is worse than the Kansas City Chiefs. It's not just Aiden. It's the rest of this defensive line that has to pick it up. But I think Aiden's going to be the guy. And I know you could say he could wreck a game without sacks, but this is the time you pull down a sack or 2. I think he's due for it. And to be honest with you, it's not even against the pass either. Aiden's really good against the run, and that was the big thing for him coming out of college, too. He's a complete defensive end. I expect him to not only wreck the game in passing sets, but on rushing downs. He's going to make Kenneth Walker pay. So I expect a big game out of Aiden. This is a guy that you think could be a top 10 edge rusher this year. Go out and prove it. go take advantage of a hindered offensive line, Lucas.
Yeah, I think Aiden needs to have doesn't need to, because I think the Lions are in square position. Even if he plays like how he did last week and doesn't get any sacks, the Lions are going to be in a great position, just with the state of Seattle's roster right now.
Mm-hmm.
But what we could see is very well Aiden Hutchinson against the Commanders last year when he was at home and he just dominated that first half. And I think no Charles Cross, which is probably who gave Aiden Hutchinson the most problem last year, especially early on in the season. You take him out and Abraham Lucas, and you replace him with a 41-year-old Jason Peters. That's equivalent to Matt Ryan being at quarterback for a team in the NFL right now.
Right.
Jason Peters doesn't stand a chance. And Aiden Hutchinson putting 7-8 pressures against Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes was escaping sacks that he shouldn't have been doing. Like, that's just how good Patrick Mahomes is at everything when it comes to the NFL. Geno Smith saw Aaron Donald coming in his face. Pause. That was, wow.
Ooh.
He was flying at him. He goes, oh, my God.
Hey, yo.
And I think we're going to see the same thing with Aiden Hutchinson this week. I think the front seven is going to absolutely feast. I think the key to this game has to come with stopping Kenneth Walker. And like you said, you already said it, Jeff. Aiden Hutchinson, John Kaminsky on the edge. I have full confidence in that. So I think Hutch has a big week. And I think all the sack numbers that you would have liked to see last week, considering how much pressure he got, they kind of even out when he gets them this week.
Yeah, 9.5 sacks last year. 5 of those came at home. So, you know what? He's pretty solid, though. I mean, 4.5 on the road. Like, Aiden's pretty solid no matter where he is. But he had more sacks last year at home. What do you think, JB, for Aiden Hutchinson? I know you kind of talked about him already, but how important is it, man? Like, for him and where we think he can be, a top 10 edge rusher, he's got to go out there and wreck the game on Sunday. We can agree there.
Oh, yeah. He definitely has to go out there and wreck the game. And obviously you've seen versus the Chiefs how he is on the edge versus playing on the inside. I think he got a little bit more pressure when he was playing on the inside to get after Patrick Mahomes. So if they can replicate that, I definitely think it's an easy 2-sack day for Aiden at home. Like, I don't think that's too far-fetched. What do you guys think?
No, I think that's fair, actually, to be honest with you. I mean, he could have had 2 or 3 against Kansas City. Like, he had 2 or 3 instances where he was close to pulling down Mahomes and getting a sack there. But, you know, it is what it is. Pressures are important, and I think that's the bigger thing. I mean, sacks are like, he had 3 sacks against Washington, but if you watch the game, he kind of just fell on Carson 2 of those sacks. So sacks it's how you measure them. I think pressures are more important. If Aiden could have a game like he had last week and like have 7-8 pressures, even if he ends with a sack, that's still wrecking the game, Sam. Pressures matter.
Pressures absolutely do matter, and they can sometimes wreck a game, like you said, just as much as sacks, by causing interceptions, by causing incompletions on 3rd and 5, a big 3rd and 5 that a quarterback with no pressure would normally hit. But here's the thing. If Aiden Hutchinson gets 7 or 8 pressures, there is 0% chance that at least one of them will definitely result in a sack. And I think that Aiden Hutchinson is a future Defensive Player of the Year caliber player. So at some point, and this isn't a criticism of Aiden whatsoever, he played great in the last game. At some point, he's going to have to rack up the sack numbers, because you look at Nick Bosa, double-digit sacks consistently, Myles Garrett, double-digit sacks consistently, TJ Watt, JJ Watt, prime Khalil Mack. At some point, if you want to be mentioned in the same breath as those guys, which I think Aiden Hutchinson most certainly will, you've got to start racking up the double-digit sack seasons. And I think it starts with this game against Seattle. Like I said, I agree with you, JB. I said it at the beginning. He gets to Geno Smith twice. I'm not calling, I know I forgot who said it in the chat, the over-under 4.5. He's definitely not going to get 5 sacks or 4 sacks or anything
okay, that's
like that.
Kool-Aid. Now that's Kool-Aid.
Yeah, there was somebody else in the chat, I forgot who mentioned it, that mentioned Derek Thomas had the record for sacks in a game with 7 against Seattle in 1990, and basically said, Aiden, we can cool it with those. But I think if he gets to Geno Smith multiple times, there is a 0% chance the Lions lose that game.
And
0.
Brandon says we need to contain Geno. But that was kind of a problem last year, too, against the Seahawks. If you guys remember, like, they struggled to contain Geno as well. And Rashad Penny. Like, he had a day as well. So I think against the run, this entire defensive line, we're all keying in on it. Can they, return or stick with the same form they've looked like, this defensive line, stopping the run? Because that's something that they've taken pride on. And stopping the run comes first. Now, for Aiden, it's not just Aiden to me. I think there's other guys that got to step up. James Houston is another one of those guys that I think could be a big factor in this game as well, especially if both tackles are out. James Houston season.
Could you imagine Jason Peters? We talked about Jason Peters on Hutch. Jason Peters, it's in the middle of the 3rd quarter. Hutch has been wearing him down all game, and here comes James Houston fresh. How the hell is Jason Peters going to block James Houston? He's never seen a pass rusher like him in his career. Now, I'm not saying obviously he's the best pass rusher that he's seen in his career, but as far as an athletic just specimen off the edge, that's James Houston. He almost got a sack on Mahomes last week. He was a huge part in what that like drive where it stalled out because Jerick McKinnon dropped that ball that hit him straight in his hand because James Houston was holding on Mahomes' ankle. But just going back, like that might be a sack on Geno Smith because Mahomes is going to be a lot stronger than Geno Smith, and that's something that people really don't take account of when it comes to getting pressure on Patrick Mahomes. Like, once you get your arms around him, that man is hard to take down still just because of how strong he is. Geno's not like that.
No, he's not. And for people chiming in here, Jordan says, Seattle has an elite receiving core. Now, this will be a huge test for our secondary. Pumped to see it, and I'll be there in person, baby. Shout out to Jordan, brother. It'll be a lot of fun. That game is going to be unreal. I think the secondary is on the clock too. Like, these guys got to show up again. I know they had some communication breakdowns last week, and it is what it is. It's the first game, and Dan said it is all correctable. But last year against Seattle, this secondary, it was rough overall. It wasn't just what they failed to do in the run game, which was stopping Rashad Penny, but a lot of those play action bootlegs, Geno running out and just hitting his tight end. It was bad. So the secondary, I think, is just important. But again, if Aiden can get pressure, makes those guys' jobs a little easier. That's something they didn't really get last year a ton.
Oh, especially not in that game when the defense looked about as putrid as it looked the whole season. And I want to ask you guys this, and I know this isn't really anything that you can measure on like a stat sheet or anything like that. Do you think that a revenge factor plays into this game, the way that Seattle just wrecked their season last year and put 48 on them? The Lions couldn't force one single punt. Do you think that plays any role in sort of the Lions being extra motivated and being like, we cannot lose to these Seahawks again?
Absolutely.
Yes.
You know what I wish? If I had one wish, I would send Deion Sanders. I would send Prime to go talk to this team. And if you guys haven't caught its personal speech, have you seen that?
The one where he's like, I don't care about any opinion about me. He's like, he just keeps going about how he's done it over and over and over again.
He was talking to his team, and he's like, you going to let a man come in your house and disrespect you? It's personal. And I wish Deion could speak to the Lions and be like, you're going to let that team come into your house like they beat you last year? It's personal. And I know these Lions players take it as personal. I do. Like, I don't think you'd be stupid if you didn't think that these players don't remember what happened last year, especially against Carolina too, which is coming up. Like, those guys remember that, especially Seattle. Like, you could not force a punt. Mm-hmm. This isn't like you had a close loss, and you could not force an effing punt. And the other part of that is Jared threw a pick six in that game. So I think for the entire team, it's not just the defense, they all take it personal. So to answer your question, yes, I do. And I really do believe that.
Not to mention that aspect of it, but who knocked the Lions out of the playoffs last year? Who did the Los Angeles Rams play and honestly snuck out of there with the win the Seahawks did? But the Seahawks knocked the Lions out of the playoffs last year, so they remember that too. The only thing that worries me about Seattle, about this whole game, is the fact that they just got exposed by the Rams at home. So I feel like they even have something to prove. Because, I mean, everybody knows you start 0-2 in the NFL, it's really hard to make the playoffs. So Seattle's going to be undermanned, but with Pete Carroll, he's definitely going to have that offense and defense playing above their capability.
Yeah, you'd expect with a well-coached team like that, Pete Carroll, they're going to bounce back. But both teams didn't play their best football. One just won on the road. So at least the Lions have a lot more to improve on too, which is kind of scary to think about. Like, this team didn't play their best football, and they still found a way to win that football game. So that's impressive. Mile High GTB says, yeah, MCDC is a master motivator. Prime can stay in Colorado. I'm kidding, by the way. Okay, MCDC, don't question his leadership. He'll have these guys ready to play. Look at this one. I love this comment. Brandon Katz says, Jeff with the dumb comment. These are professionals. Dude, it's pathetic if they need a speech to motivate them. Well, Brandon, you must not watch sports. And that's unfortunate because even though they are professionals, this is still a sport where leadership and motivation matters. Like, it just does. So
if you want to,
yeah, because there's guys
he looks motivated, doesn't he?
Yeah. That's the thing. People, I mean, if you actually believe that motivation doesn't matter in sports, like, you haven't played sports. So, like, that just kind of gives that away. But regardless, Jack says here, Prime needs to win a couple games in Colorado first. Joe says, don't listen to him, Jeff. He's a troll. I mean, hey, if you didn't play sports, it's all good. I get it. But definitely motivation is a big part of that. It just is. It always is. No matter if you're getting paid or not. Like, you still got to motivate It's part of the job.
This is the same guy that was saying signing David Montgomery was idiotic for the Lions about a half hour ago.
Yeah. Right. It's like Dan just walks in and goes, all right, guys, you ready to play? Get your shit on, man. Let's go play.
Let's go and do it, boys. Let's go get it, fellas.
All right, guys, get your shit on. Let's go win. All right. Like, no, it's not how that works, but good try, Brandon. We'll go to break when we get back. I do want to get into Top 10 Tuesday here because we're going to start doing this on the show every Tuesday. We're going to do top 10 teams in the NFL, constantly update our own power rankings. So we'll see where it's week 1, so it's hard to rank any of these teams, but we'll see where our top 10 list kind of falls into place here. But before we do that, I got to hear about our friends from Swiss Insurance.
Absolutely. Do you have football on the brain? Fall ushers in college and professional football, and this year is going to be awesome. Fall is also a perfect time to shop your home and auto insurance. Shop it like a pro with Swiss Insurance. They cover Woodward Sports Network, and they should be covering you too. Ask for Mark at Swiss Insurance today at swissins.com or call 248-800-4177. Again, that is 248-800-4177, Swiss Insurance.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Gabby is a college student struggling to study for her big exam. Then she discovered Syntron, a healthy way for her to stay awake and focus. Jennifer frequently has chaotic days like this until she gets online, orders some Syntron, and finds her groove. April visited her local grocery store, purchased a case of Syntron, and entered to win the Syntron 100K Vegas giveaway. Pick up your case of Syntron today at any Meijer location or visit drinksyntron.com/Vegas and enter for the 100K Vegas giveaway.
Let me tell you about our friends over at Glorious Cannabis just in time for football. Glorious Cannabis is dropping a new ice water bubble hash infused pre-roll called Honolulu Blue. It smells so good, as I've been told. It's like the whiff of the first playoff win in over 30 years. It's a gassy, aggressive strain named in honor of Detroit football. Find them at Dispo Dispensary for 25% off. Check them out online, www.gloriouscanna.com. Oh, we're off and running. It's the Morning Woodward Show, creeping into the second hour. Again, appreciate you guys for joining the show. Don't forget, hit the like button. Support the show, but it also supports us and the network. It helps with the algorithm. But I want to move on to the next segment here, going to Top 10 Tuesday. Give our top 10 NFL teams. We'll let you know where we have the Lions ranked here. We'll start with you, Sam Flannel. Give me your, we'll go from 10. So give me your 10th team.
All right. At number 10, I have the Green Bay Packers. I mean, here's the thing. You have to give them credit for almost a 20-point win at Soldier Field. The way that they just neutralized Justin Fields. The way that Jordan Love actually played a pretty solid game. I mean, 3 touchdown passes. Those don't just grow on trees. And the fact that they did that all without Christian Watson. And as I mentioned yesterday, the Green Bay Packers rookies, Carl Brooks, Lucas Van Ness, Jaden Reed, and Luke Musgrave all stepped up big to help improve a roster, which I think is pretty good. Jordan Love is the one question mark, really, but he actually played pretty well. I think he answered a few questions of whether or not he would look like an NFL quarterback, and he did.
I'll tell you what, my 10th team, I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints. Right now, they're 1-0. That win was, that was rough. And I know that's your guy, Derek Carr, but they won a football game. So got to give credit there. I have the New Orleans Saints as my top 10, my 10th team in my top 10. What about you, Lucas?
Jeff, we're in gridlock there. I was going to go with the Saints because they won, but not in a convincing way. But they definitely did not play their best football game. I think that team defensively stepped up. Once that offense really starts going, Chris Olave had a slow start to that game. I think they need to get him going sooner. And they still don't have Alvin Kamara. So once Alvin Kamara comes back, I think this offense will really open it up. But their defense is locked down. I think they'll be a above 500 team for sure, but yeah. I need to see more from their offense, so that's why I only got them at 10 right now.
That's fair. We'll move to 9. What do you got? Who do you got at 9, Sam?
I have the Baltimore Ravens.
Ooh.
They won in week 1 against the Houston Texans. That was a game that they were supposed to win. I thought Lamar Jackson looked a little bit shaky. Obviously, J.K. Dobbins being out for the season. That's just, that guy can't catch a break. That team overall has had terrible injury luck over the past few years. But a couple standouts from that game. One, rookie Zay Flowers, who was one of the most impressive rookies all week. It was either him, on the offensive side, it was either him, Jordan Addison, or Bijan Robinson, in my opinion. And on the defensive end, did you see the game that Roquan Smith played? He was absolutely unbelievable. He had a sack. He had almost 20 tackles. He was a game wrecker. But like I said, Lamar Jackson and the injuries kind of keep them a little bit lower on the list than maybe some people would have them. I got the Ravens at 9.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go with the Packers. It's hard to judge them because they whooped on a team that I think will be ass this year. So, they looked good. I mean, they didn't have Christian Watson. Jordan Love had 3 TD passes. They played good enough, and they won the football game. We'll see how it kind of progresses, the whole Jordan Love storyline and the Packers as a team, because I don't really know how to rate them. They're a good football team. If Jordan Love just continues to play point guard and just gets the playmakers the football and they run the football, I do think they could sneak off 7-8 wins, but we shall see. They're 9th for me. I have the Packers. What about you, Lucas?
I was debating between the Packers, but I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns. I want to put them a little bit higher, but I just think the Bengals played such a bad game offensively. But the Browns' defense, I think that's a top 4 or 5 unit in the league. Flannel, you were spot on about their defense. I'm still worried about Deshaun Watson's consistency over the course of the season, but the Browns look damn good. They did it in bad conditions, and I think that's a team that's only going to get stronger through the season as their chemistry gets better.
Mm-hmm. What about 8? Okay, so for me, and this is where things kind of get a little tricky here. I have the Chiefs. They're 0-1. I get that. But they played a terrible game and lost by 1. So, I don't want to overreact too much. The Chiefs will have Kelsey. We'll have Chris Jones back. And I think the Lions are a good football team. So, if we're basing it off of that, the Chiefs lost to a good football team. I know it was at home, but still, I'm going to give the Chiefs respect here. I'll put them at 8 because I do think they'll beat the Packers and Saints right now if they play. Even without Chris Jones or Kelsey. That's how I feel. But it is what it is. Chiefs, to me, are 8th.
All right, and at number 8, I have the Cleveland Browns, a team that I actually predicted would be much better than a lot of people did, a team that I predicted would win the AFC North. And I know it's just 1 week, but like Lucas said, that defense just absolutely abused an offense in which Joe Burrow played, T. Higgins played, Jamar Chase played, Tyler Boyd played, and they signed Orlando Brown to help shore up that offensive line. And he wasn't terrible or anything, but still, there weren't really that many excuses for why the Bengals played as bad as they did. But one of the reasons is because that Browns defense and that pass rush and that secondary looked elite. And oh, by the way, death taxes Nick Chubb 100 yards and over 5 yards a carry. It is just like clockwork with him. So the Cleveland Browns are my number 8 team.
What about you?
Alrighty, Flannel, you already said the Ravens, but that's who I'm going with at 8. I have them slightly above the Browns just because they did that with no Mark Andrews. I think the fact that they did that is really impressive. I know they did just lose J.K. Dobbins, but it seems like every year at some point the Ravens have Gus Edwards as their starting linebacker or running back and Justice Hill coming in. So I think the Ravens rushing game isn't going to miss a beat. They've never really had J.K. Dobbins consistently over the course of the season. And I just think the Ravens have a lot of weapons. You said Zay Flowers. I think he's really going to open that offense up when Mark Andrews comes back because you're not going to be able to cover Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews over the middle. So I think this offense, once Mark Andrews is active again, is going to be really explosive.
What about you, Sam? We'll go back to you. Who do you got at 7?
At number 7, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that I think a lot of people might have a little bit higher, but I give them a little bit of a ding because they struggled to beat the Colts and Anthony Richardson. But I will say this. We knew Trevor Lawrence would play very well. Calvin Ridley showed out. But the thing that I was most impressed about and encouraged by when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars possibly being a sleeper Super Bowl contender, Josh Allen had 3 sacks.
Did he really?
Yes.
I didn't even see that.
Yes. If he's a guy who can take that leap and have a 15-sack season, watch out for the Jaguars. And you know who else played a damn good game, had one of the best defensive games of the week by a defensive back? None other than Tyson Campbell. And if Tyson Campbell takes that leap into being one of the elite corners in the NFL, like I said, the Jacksonville Jaguars might be looking like that sleeper Super Bowl team that you guys think they are.
I was going to say, sounds like my MVP. Trevor Lawrence. Sounds like my AFC Championship team that takes down the Chiefs.
We shall see.
We shall see, Sam Flannel. All right. At number 7, I got the Ravens. That's where I have them ranked. Again, how do I measure them? I don't know. You faced a rookie quarterback, defense, maybe not as bad as I initially thought they were going to be, but we shall see over time as time kind of plays on there with the Ravens. I like them, though. I think they're a good football team. I know Lamar struggled a little bit, but that ain't the Lamar Jackson we'll see moving forward. So give me the Ravens at 7. They've earned it.
And I'm going to stick with Flannel. I'm going with the Jags as well. I love the Jags, but they could have played better. But the fact of the matter is they're still 1-0, but there's just teams ahead of this list that I think showed more, and one team that you just got to leave up there just because they still are who they are.
Mm-hmm.
So the Jags, nice win. Calvin Ridley looked good. Trevor Lawrence looked good. Travis Etienne looked good. Defense looked great, but I think just an overall better game is what they needed to play.
All right, number 6. What do you got, Sam Flannel?
I have our Detroit Lions at number 6 because, the Detroit Lions, they had the most impressive win in the NFL in week 1 because they went to Arrowhead, the defending Super Bowl champions. I know that they were depleted. They had no Travis Kelce and they had no Chris Jones, but the Detroit Lions, they absolutely deserve their flowers for winning that game. And I think this is a team that is going to end up being a 12-win football team, and they had a great win. And they were basically, I would say, led by a defense that last year wasn't even very good. So it's as a season overall. So I think this defense will be much improved, and I got the Lions at number 6 on my top 10.
Wow.
Wow.
Wasn't good enough, I guess. No, I'm kidding, Sam. Okay, I'll give you my 6th team here. I'll go with the Browns. The Browns, and again, I actually like the Browns. I don't know if they'll win their division. I know they're technically, them and the Ravens are the 2 best teams right now in their division, but we'll see how that plays out. I think the Bengals bounce back, but I like the Browns. If Deshaun Watson can return to somewhat of what we saw his last year in Houston, that's a dangerous football team. They got a lot of talent. Defense looks solid. So give me the Browns at 6. What about you,
My number
Lucas?
6 team is the Miami Dolphins. I
Miami.
think going into LA is not the toughest place
Welcome
to play.
Miami.
But that's a team the Dolphins lost to last year. And Tua threw for over 450 yards. They kept them upright most of the game. Tyreek Hill had 215 yards, and they really didn't even get a chance to get Jalen Waddle going. Not only that, but they did that against the LA Chargers offense with no Jalen Ramsey. So when Jalen Ramsey comes back, I think this Dolphins team, I picked them to win the AFC East, and I'm feeling even better about it after Sunday.
There you go. Now we're moving into the top 5. What's your 5th team in the NFL? Your Sam Flannel power rankings.
My number 5 team is the Kansas City Chiefs. And spoiler alert, they're the only team in my top 10 that lost in week 1 because they're still the Chiefs. They're still the defending Super Bowl champs, and they were playing shorthanded. Chris Jones, did they just not get a deal done? They absolutely did. And does Travis Kelce's injury look like something that's going to keep him out for multiple weeks? No, it does not. The Kansas City Chiefs will absolutely bounce back. They will still win the AFC West, and I still have them as my Super Bowl team. So no, I am not going to ding the Kansas City Chiefs out of my top 10 just because they lost in week 1. My only 2 questions are, is Patrick Mahomes still there? Is Andy Reid still there? And also, is Chris Jones coming back? Is Travis Kelce coming back? 13 wins. Give me the Chiefs.
Oh my God. Well, Mahomes. I'll say Mahomes and Reid were there.
Kansas City's all he's got now.
They held that L.
They did.
But regardless,
they did.
My 5th team, I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Because I know I get the whole, they struggled against a rookie quarterback in Anthony Richardson. He's just hard to game plan.
No,
for.
you're 100% right.
Like, the dude is 6'4", runs a 4.4. Like, whatever. Regardless, Josh Allen looked nice. Sam kind of already hit on all the points. Trevor Lawrence threw a pick, but regardless, I think that Lawrence to Ridley connection going to be deadly. And Christian Kirk didn't even do anything really.
No.
Like, wait till he shows up. So Zay Jones had a great TV
you see
cut.
that Zay Jones snap?
Yeah, they got weapons, man. They do. I like the Jacksonville Jaguars a lot. They're a top 5 team to me. So that's why I have it 5. What about you, Lucas?
At number 5, I have the Dallas Cowboys. I understand their defense looked phenomenal, but I think it was a lot like the Bears and Packers, where it's like the Cowboys' strengths were the Giants' weaknesses. Like, no doubt the Cowboys are going to be getting pressure all year, but not like that. Daniel Jones, if you look at the other quarterbacks in this top 10 list, they're not turning over that much. They're not going to get a blocked extra point return for a field. Everything that could go wrong for the Giants went wrong for the Giants. Everything that could go right for the Cowboys went right for the Cowboys. And I'm sorry, but that's not how the NFL works for 17 weeks of the season. We hardly saw Dak. When Dak was out there, he looked iffy. Like, he was missing some throws. The running game looked solid, but again, they really weren't doing that much. Dexter Lawrence still had his way for some time in that game. I like the Cowboys. I don't like the Cowboys. I like the roster, but I still got to see way more to trust them. Same thing with the Packers.
Let's do one more, and then we'll save the top 3 for the next segment here. So 4 for me, and I'll get mine out the way, Sam. The Dolphins. Defensively, like to see more. I think the Miami Dolphins have more talent than what they kind of showed. Didn't look great defensively, but I think they'll get better as time goes on. Offensively, there's not much to say. I mean, Tua to Tyreek is one of the most dangerous quarterback to wide receiver duos in the NFL. Like, what they're doing, what Tyreek is doing is ridiculous. So Miami, to me right now, they're a top 4 team, and they showed it. They beat a good football team. I know Brandon Staley's still the head coach, so it's kind of questionable. But regardless, Chargers have a lot of talent. Most expensive defense. Tua lit them up for over 400 yards. Give me the Dolphins at 4.
Oh, I actually agree with you. I got the Dolphins at 4 as well, and they also had one of the more impressive wins over the weekend, and they certainly had their passing game. I'll tell you what, if the season ended today, and I've been critical of Tua before, Tua Tagovailoa would be your league MVP, and Tyreek Hill would probably be second in voting, because here is my Flannel Sam guarantee. Tyreek Hill will have the first 2,000-yard receiving season in NFL history, because that week 1 version of Tyreek Hill, I would stack up against any version of any wide receiver in NFL history. He was absolutely unstoppable. And I think Tua and Tyreek Hill can be one of the best duos in the NFL. I can't believe I'm saying that about a duo that includes Tua Tagovailoa, but I'm not a hater. I'm not a hater. I take the new information in and I adjust my opinion. So that's why the Dolphins, to me, are number 4.
Okay. Now, I'll tell you what, we'll go to break. We get back, we'll get into the top 3 teams. In the NFL, me and Lucas have not said the Lions yet.
Nope.
We'll see. We'll see where we have them ranked. It's a good day. Good year to be a Lions fan. I'll tell you that. But before we do any of that, I got to tell you about our friends over at Big Boy, because burgers and chicken sandwiches are taking over at Big Boy. It's burger time. Try the best cheeseburger or their new pretzel bacon cheeseburger. Upgrade your regular fries with their chili cheese and loaded baked potato fries, but save room for dessert as well, because they have a treat for you. Indulge in their Reese's Chocolate Peanut Butter Thunder Cake or satisfy your sweet tooth with their funnel cake fries. All of that and more at Big Boy.
Are you a diehard college football fan? Well, it's your lucky day. Join special WSN guests like Spencer Raxter, Flannel Sam, and more every Saturday. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Saturdays and tune in live from 8:30 to 10 a.m. Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions Show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle D. Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
Calling all landscapers, how would you like to landscape like a legend? Register for your chance for 4-time Stanley Cup winner Darren McCarty to work your crew for a day. That's right, Darren McCarty on your zero-turn weed whipping and edging for your favorite clients. Sign up today at OutdoorEquipCo.com. That's OutdoorEquipCo.com.
We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Plenty more to get to. We've got to finish up our top 10 list right now because it is Top 10 Tuesday. And we just got through 7 teams on our top 10 list. We'll get to the final 3 teams. JB, you can keep the music going here. Let's do it. Who do you got at number 3, Sam Flannel? Tell me.
I have to go with the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, here's the thing. The Dallas Cowboys went into New York, a team that last year was in the playoffs, and beat them 40-0 while sacking Daniel Jones 7 times. It was just a completely dominating performance by a team that I think is going to be very, very good this year. So I absolutely have to put the Dallas Cowboys at number 3 because they earned it. What can you say about that performance?
No, you can't. I agree with you.
Last year.
I know and that's the thing about the Dallas Cowboys, and I want to just make this clear. Just because I have the Cowboys ranked where I have them doesn't mean they're going to win the Super Bowl. Like, if we're going off week 1, to me, they're 3. I mean, based on what they did against the Giants. But like you said, Lucas, Cowboys always do this. Yeah. 1 game a year, they obliterate a football team, and then they fall short in the playoffs.
Look at Minnesota last year. They did the same exact thing to Minnesota in Minnesota on a primetime game, and then what ended up happening?
They lose.
The Cowboys came back to earth. Now, I understand they have Stephon Gilmore this year. Their defense a little bit improved. But still, what is always the nucleus of the problem when it comes to the Cowboys? Critical timing and big games in the playoffs is what cost them. They're not going to be able to keep Tony Pollard healthy all 17 weeks. I'm sorry, but if they keep running him the way that they do, he's just not that big of a back coming off a torn ACL. Like, that's going to matter at some point. So, great week 1 for Dallas. They're going to come back down to earth eventually. They still have the same ownership GM that they've been doing for last years. I don't know why we're expecting anything to change.
Well, who's your third team?
My third team? The Detroit Lions. I have them as number 3. I think there's obviously 2 teams ahead of them, but you cannot deny. I understand no Chris Jones, Travis Kelce. There should be no goddamn asterisk. Let's get that talk out of their last. I heard asterisk talk last night when they were like, well, on that punt return, the Jets return man got help because he was kicking him. I'm tired of hearing about asterisks. Okay, whoever says that and is a commentator just needs to shut their mouth and take a suspension and go relax at their team who they're rooting for lost for a little bit. But the Lions going into Arrowhead and winning with Jared Goff shows you enough about not only the roster, but the coaching and the management that goes through it. The Lions played a sloppy game offensively. They're only going to get better, but I still have 2 teams ahead of them.
I have... You know what? I'll go to you first. Who's your number 2 team?
My number 2 team is the Philadelphia Eagles. And a lot of it, I'll be honest, when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, they get grandfathered in by making the Super Bowl last year. Because I'm not going to say that their win was as impressive as, say, the Cowboys win or the Lions win or the San Francisco 49ers win. But that's still a damn good football team. And they went into Foxborough and won. But I will say this. Jalen Hurts looked a little shaky. The offense overall looks a little shaky. And that defense gave up 300 yards and 3 touchdowns to Mac Jones. But you know who was the ultimate sort of equalizer when it comes to all this? None other than Jalen Carter, who was one of the best defensive players of the entire weekend. And drafting him will absolutely fill a hole that was left by a guy like Javon Hargraves. And I think he's going to be better than Javon Hargraves ever was. Give me the Philadelphia Eagles at number 2.
There you go, Jalen Carter filling holes. Like Sam Flannel eloquently put there. Number 2, Lions. I have them. They're there.
Got them at 2?
Number 2.
All right,
I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And I'll make a point here. They didn't play their best football, but they had the most impressive win, in my opinion, week 1. On the road, like Sam put earlier. If you have Mahomes and Andy Reid, I don't give a damn who's out. You still beat them. Not playing your best football. So, you know what? Lions get the love from me. I think they're number 2 on my top 10 list here, and they deserve to be. What about you, Lucas?
I'm with Flannel. I got the Philadelphia Eagles. I understand they looked a little sloppy. Their defense looked great, but people are not taking into account how good of a game Bill Belichick coached there. Bill Belichick had that defense flying around, and you have to take that into account, especially week 1. You go from playing Andy Reid in the Super Bowl, losing, and now take that momentum. Now you got to play Bill Belichick in Foxborough week 1. I don't care what. We saw what happened when the Lions did it last year. I don't care what team you are. That's a tough place to play, and they still pulled out a W. Their defense looked great. Big play Slay with a nice pick 6 there, and he had a great PBU that I don't think people will understand how difficult that is. I love Philly's defense, and I think their offense just can't take a little time. They were playing a tough and well-coached defense. I got the Eagles at 2.
Yeah, I don't know how to rate the Eagles. Like, to me, they would have been back half of my top 10 just because, like, it's not about the Eagles. Do I think they're a good football team? Yes. But based off week 1, I mean, beating Mac Jones almost beating you. You know, I don't know how to kind of measure that. We'll see.
Kendrick Bourne had 4 touchdowns.
Yeah,
Kendrick Bourne.
Like, that's it's concerning to say the least. But like Sam put, Jalen Carter looked good, but the Eagles haven't done enough to be on, at least on my list. But they will be as time moves on. Number 1, I think we all agree. There's one team we haven't said. It's the 49ers.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the best team based off week 1. They had the most dominant performance. All the Kenny Pickett hype, which I was sick of hearing then. And now week 1, he stinks. But regardless, impressive win. Brock Purdy looked good. They picked up where they left off last year, and I think they're still going to be one of the more dangerous teams if Brock Purdy's healthy. It is what it is.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a clean sweep in this room. It 100% is the San Francisco 49ers. Brock Purdy looked good. The offense looked good. Christian McCaffrey looked elite. I think
he didn't miss a step.
I will say this about Christian McCaffrey. I think it's a done discussion right now that Christian McCaffrey is the best running back in the NFL. And I absolutely love what the 49ers defense did. Just force Kenny Pickett into basically what he is. And now for his entire career, he has 8 touchdown passes and 11 interceptions. So that was as sweet as can be. Give me the San Francisco 49ers. And to me right now, just off of these rankings, it's not close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by the way, before we give Lucas his number 1 ranking, I got to tell you about an upcoming show here that'll give you all the inside scoop on the Detroit Lions. And that's the Lions Insider Show. featuring, there you go, Matt Broder, Terry Foster, and Gabrielle D. Phillips for all the inside scoop. It's the Woodward and Main Show. Episodes 2 times a week, Tuesday 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. and Sundays 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. only on our Woodward Sports YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Lucas, who do you got at number 1? Talk to me.
It's the Niners, and I don't think it's close. The Niners right now, I think Lions, but Eagles a little bit above them, and then it's the Niners. There's not much you can do on all phases of the ball. The Niners just look dominant. They went into Pittsburgh and dominated Mike Tomlin. Kyle Shanahan outcoached Mike Tomlin. It wasn't even close. It looked like an embarrassment. And that in itself rarely happens. George Pickens was on the sideline. I don't know if you guys saw this video. He was sitting there. He's like, I love it here, man. I swear to God. But this ain't it. This ain't it. And that could just sum up the game for the Steelers. I think the Steelers are going to be fine, by the way. I think the Steelers, I know I had them win the division. I might be a little sus on that now. I still think they have a chance to win the playoff or go into the playoffs just because it's a team that you can never count out. But the dominated team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't care who they have. If Mike Tomlin is coaching that defense, that's a tough game to win, and they absolutely dominate them on all three levels of the field. Brandon Ayuk, 2 touchdowns. Probably going to be Deebo Samuel next week. Week after that, it's probably going to be George Kittle. And if not, well, McCaffrey's probably got 4 total touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 2 through the air.
They got weapons.
It's just so hard to stop them.
Look at this. Bridget says Flannel has the most realistic list. There you go.
Oh,
Flannel getting some love.
I appreciate that. And speaking of the 49ers, you know another thing that I think was a little bit underlooked about that win? Nick Bosa didn't have 3 sacks, but Drake Jackson did.
From USC.
Imagine if Nick Bosa can actually get his bookend edge rusher and it be Drake Jackson. I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar or anything, but if you have 3 sacks in a game, you can play. Those don't just grow on trees. And if he becomes something, man, the 49ers defense might be even more unstoppable than you even think.
Think about that for a second. Most of us, I mean, at least for our top 3 teams, all NFC teams.
Yeah.
Big challenge for the Detroit Lions, man. I'm telling you. NFC.
None of us had the Bills or Bengals on the list, did they?
No. Both 0-1. We'll see how that progresses.
Well, the Bills and the Bengals, they didn't earn it. They both played about as bad of games as you could possibly play in week 1. I think maybe by the week 4 or week 5 list they might be on a list, but you cannot put them. I would probably agree with that.
All right, let's go to break. We come back. We'll go to what's trending with Lucas, and then of course we got mailbag. But before we do that, I got to hear about our friends over at Guardian Alarm.
Of course. Let Guardian Alarm offer you customized solutions from real experts. Our professional technicians take the time to recommend security and automation solutions specific to your needs. 24/7 professional monitoring. Call us anytime, day or night, and know that a Guardian team member will stay on the phone as long as needed. Technology backed by people. Your safety and security deserves technology that's been proven to work and people who have been proven to care. Call 1-800-STAY-OUT.
Stay out.
That's 1-800-STAY-OUT. Guardian Alarm, your local security experts.
The Sports Marketing Agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zuniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, 2 of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune in to the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder.
It's the Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour.
You're a good coach, Tim. Oh, great shot.
Some of the biggest names in Michigan sports, and some, well, not so much.
Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah, baby.
Oh, shit. Go in.
Watch episodes at woodwardsports.com.
For over 60 years, Fairway Packing Company has provided Michigan's finest restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef, Wagyu beef, and dry-aged beef. Experience the Fairway difference for yourself today. Visit the steak shop in Grosse Pointe Woods for grab-and-go steaks, or order online at fairwaypacking.com.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. You know what time it is. Check your watch. It's What's Trending with Lucas.
Oh, yeah, it is, baby. And shout out to Brandon. He sent these over on Twitter last night, and he had boots on the ground.
Boots?
In Arrowhead, and he got some phenomenal footage. So we're going to play these real quick, just so you guys could really just see how packed Arrowhead was with Lions fans. I know he says apologize for the drunk rant here, but I just hear Kool-Aid sipping. That's all I hear. But here we go. Shout out Brandon.
What a game from the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions just made Arrowhead leave early.
One pride, baby, one pride! 20! Woo!
Sometimes, yeah, that's a good football team. That's a team that you can fucking believe in.
Oh, is it not playing? Hold on.
I'll do this! We got this shit!
Wow.
I mean,
that is unreal. We got this shit.
We got this shit. We got it. Lions fans, man.
I know, they're crazy. I love them, man. I love Lions fans. The first video, too, you could just see in the background. It was so. Shout out to Brandon, by the way, for sending that video. The background, fans throwing their hat. You see a guy crying in the background.
Brandon was about to cry. You can tell he was like, that right there, that's a team you can believe in. That's a team right there.
That is amazing.
Flannel, does that, at least on your end, I know you were a little scared earlier, but to seeing how many Lions fans were in Arrowhead, does that give you a little bit more confidence that when they're in Detroit, these fans are going to be ready to go, and this is going to be one of the toughest places to play in the NFL? Do you have a little bit more confidence after seeing that field was overrun with Lions fans?
You know,
or did they not earn it yet?
I've always had confidence. I just don't want us Lions fans to get a little bit too arrogant before we've accomplished anything. At the end of this season, I think we will be talking about Ford Field as one of the greatest home field advantages in the NFL. I know.
You said it.
I know. I'm a hater.
Yeah, you
but
said it.
It is because I've said numerous times I think the Lions will have a 7-1 home season, which is phenomenal. Maybe even 8-0 at this point.
That's a damn good home field advantage, Sam Flannel. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. What else you got for us?
We kind of talked about the Browns' defense a little bit, and I don't know if you guys saw this play by Myles Garrett of just toying with the Bengals' defense, but just look at this. Look at this. Acting like he's Kyrie out there, just crossing over on dudes, and then guess what he does? Blows up the play. I mean, I've never seen a defender do this before.
Yeah, he's toying with him.
So my question is, I don't know if you guys saw, but Zadarius Smith for the Browns, he looked damn good as well. Again, shout out Vikings making another terrible trade to put them even farther behind where they need to be at. But my question to you guys is, who, after watching Week 1, if you had to make a way too early prediction, who leads the NFL in sacks this year?
I mean, I think it very well could be Myles Garrett, dude. Like, he's always been teetering. He's always had, like, 15, 16 sacks. I mean, it's only a matter of time before that freak. He's a freak athlete.
Yeah.
Like, that man is a specimen, and full pause on that. 6'5", he's shredded. I think he has the ability to lead the league in sacks. We'll see this year. Maybe getting Zadarius Smith will help him do that.
I am going to go with Micah Parsons, my preseason prediction.
take.
I know he only had one in week 1, but still, I think Micah Parsons gets 20. I think this is the year where he really establishes himself even more than he already has and wins this season's Defensive Player of the Year. But a sleeper, somebody that did it very, very under the radar because his team got killed so bad. TJ Watt had 3 for the Steelers.
He really? I was watching that game. I didn't even notice that.
That's my Defensive Player of the Year.
I mean, and
TJ Watt.
And 3 sacks is about as good of a start to it as you can possibly be, especially given the fact that the Steelers didn't even play that well.
No. TJ Watt, man, he's coming for that.
Didn't play that well is an understatement. Played terribly.
Yeah, no doubt.
Indeed. Well, that'll be all, fellas. And guys, if you ever go to Lions games, Tigers games, Pistons, Redwings, etc., you have good videos, make sure you send them over to me, Jeff, Flannel, Gabby, JB on Twitter. My Twitter is Lucas Klotz, but instead of an L, it's a 1. So anytime you guys have videos like that, I love seeing them. I know the guys love seeing them, just to get the atmosphere, because we can't be there, obviously. We're doing the stream. We can't be there. We want to see what it's like with boots on the ground, and I know there's going to be tons of you guys at the game, so make sure you guys keep sending in your videos, and we'll be playing them on the morning show all year.
You know what else has a great atmosphere? The Lions pregame show, of course. And the Woodward Sports Lions pregame show returns for another season of Lions football. Join WSN host Jeff Iafrate with weekly special guests on the Woodward Sports YouTube channel.
What's up?
Yes.
Who's that guy?
Hey, who is that guy? Are you looking at yourself in the mirror? Look at that handsome fella right there. And look at that handsome fella right there in that little box in the bottom right corner. But
he's pretty handsome too.
Hey, we will be at Eastern Market this Sunday. They will be absolutely insane for the Lions home opener. And whether you're sipping the Kool-Aid or kicking and screaming same old Lions, you will not want to miss this show. Live every single, before the Lions game. You've got this weekend, it's between 9:30 and 11:30 a.m. and for most games that will be the start time. Join us all season long for an action-packed Lions pregame experience.
I like that show. It's a good show. You should tune in on Sunday. I heard it's pretty good. I did hear that. Let's go to break. When we get back, we'll get to mailbag and much more, but I got to hear about our friends over at Dispo before we do that.
Oh, absolutely. Experience the true meaning of exceptional cannabis products with Dispo Dispensary. With over 12 locations, including their new location that is now open in Whitmore Lake, Dispo is never far away. Join Ermanni and Edwards with Maz and the Woodward Heavyweights broadcasting live at the Whitmore Lake location this Friday, September 15th. Located on 50 North Territorial Road, Whitmore Lake, Michigan. Dispo Dispensary, disposhops.com, your local cannabis plug.
Where's the most convenient place to get that big fitness energy?
It's Planet Fitness.
Join today for just $1 down, $10 a month. With over 2,400 locations and equipment for every workout, you can get in, get energized, and get going. And with free fitness training and most clubs open 24 hours, everyone belongs in the judgment-free zone. So join today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment, cancel anytime. Deal ends Wednesday, September 13th.
Join now at any Metro Detroit location. Hurry, offer ends soon.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, 2 of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder.
It's the Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour.
You're a good coach, Tim. Oh, great shot.
Some of the biggest names in Michigan sports, and some, well, not so much.
Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah, baby.
Watch episodes at woodwardsports.com.
When buying or selling real estate, flexibility and control over the sales process is key. Sellers, how would you like the freedom of canceling your listing agreement at any time for any reason with no cost? That is exactly what Mark White and Associates offers. It's called the Minute by Minute Listing Agreement by Mark White and Associates. Try Mark White's free minute-to-minute listing agreement today. Looking to buy or sell real estate? Visit markwhitesells.com or call 248-290-8242. That's markwhitesells.com, where flexibility meets success.
We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. It's mailbag time. Appreciate you guys for sticking with us. Ryan's reaction says the Sunday show is smart, Juicy. Appreciate you, Ryan.
Oh, yeah.
I better see you on Sunday.
We killed it on Thursday, too.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
A lot of fun. No breaks. We just rolled.
Yeah.
2 hours. Just give me the mic.
Everything you could possibly want Detroit Lions related on Sundays, Thursdays, Mondays against the Raiders. Tune into Woodward Sports.
Tune in.
Best coverage in the city.
First question will start us off here. Casted Reed says, mailbag, how does beating the Chiefs to the C game change their expectations for the Lions? Are we now expecting a playoff run or sticking with the host a playoff game? It's a good question. I think for me, it does change slightly. I mean, you go into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs. I don't give a damn who was out. It's impressive. What does it mean for me? It doesn't change much. My expectations are win a playoff game. And that playoff game you will host because you have to win your division too. So those two things I expect this year. Winning your division, winning a playoff game. Now, a playoff run, I'm not going to rule it out, but I'm not saying I expect this team to make it to the Super Bowl. That's not something I'm going to come out and say. But hey, the playoffs, we'll see how it shapes up. Once you get in the dance, anything can happen.
Well,
but I think a playoff win is a must.
Well, a playoff win is an absolute must because I think they will host it, and I think by Ford Field will be one of the best home field advantages in the NFL.
Baby,
despite what you guys think I said earlier, I was just giving a little bit of context. But anyway, here's what beating the Chiefs does. That was a game that I think a lot of us had on the schedule, certainly when it came out as a loss, and that turned into a win. And I think the expectations are still the same when it comes to winning a playoff game. But I will say this. The Lions, their path to the 1 seed, which I think is attainable, although I'm not calling for it, is more paved than before since they won at Kansas City. I think the pathway to 12 or 13 wins is there, and they could possibly reach it. And if the Lions get the number 1 seed in the NFC, then I'm calling for them to make the Super Bowl. But anything short of that, just 1 playoff win.
What about this question here? Brandon says, Mailbag, after watching Hutch in game 1, do you think Hutch is a top 5 edge rusher? I wouldn't say top 5 yet. I think he's...
It's so deep.
I mean,
Think
I was going to say...
we were just talking about.
You go through it. I mean, TJ, Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Mike. Now I'm at 5. Like,
there we are. Josh Allen at 3 sacks.
Josh Allen. I think he's top 10, and I think he can climb depending on how he plays. Sam, is that crazy?
No, I think top 10 is the expectation for this year, but top 5. I mean, you mentioned just like Hall of Famer, 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 just off the top of your head.
Yeah.
And then there's other guys you could probably mention who you'd still have to put above Aiden Hutchinson as of right now, like a Brian Burns, for example, somebody like that,
go.
or even Joey Bosa, who for now would probably still have to be put above Aiden Hutchinson. But Aiden Hutchinson is certainly top 10, and
he'll get there one day.
He will absolutely get there one day. I think he'll be first. I think he will win 1 Defensive Player of the Year award. So at some point, he will definitely get there.
Let's see here. Big Con 51 Mailbag. Sheila rolling into Ford Field with a ski mask.
Imagine.
Oh dear Lord.
We gotta get Ford Field to have where it's like a blue out. Everybody's wearing those Honolulu blue ski masks. Could you imagine being another team?
No.
What the fuck is going on in Detroit?
I couldn't imagine sitting there and looking around, let alone being the other team.
Sheila's got a ski mask, ready to rob a win, dude. I'm all for it. But guess what? You know what I'm all for is the Broder and Booner show that'll be on tonight, the Woodward Nights show.
In the night.
It is, by the way, it's Booner's birthday, so if you guys could do him a favor, just pop in for their show tonight.
National Booner Day, baby.
Wish him happy birthday. Spam the birthday cake emoji. If you want to throw a couple poop emojis in there, hey, I didn't send you. You can do it, but the birthday cake is preferred. But go in that stream and show some love. It's weekdays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Booner and Broder from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. on the Woodward Sports YouTube channel. By the way, I didn't say the poop emoji. That's your choice. Okay, that's your choice. If you want to do it though, it'd be kind of funny. Let's see. More questions here. Jamcat says, Mailbag, Jeff, Sam, good teams win, but great teams cover. If the Lions don't cover against Seattle, does that change your opinion on this team? No, we're favored by 5.5. I mean, if it's a 3-point victory, I wouldn't be mad. I think it's hard enough to win in this league as a whole. So it depends how the context of the game kind of plays out. But Jamcat, no, win's a win to me. I agree with the statement, though. Good teams win, great teams cover. But Seattle, I think, is a good team. So I don't expect them to beat them by 10, 14 points. If they do, great, but I think it'll be another close game this week. I do.
There are 17 of these. Nobody cares about style points. As long as the Lions can rack up wins, they will get higher seeding and they will win their division. So I don't care if the Lions win by 1, 50, 20, 3, 7. I just want to see the Lions win. And if they happen to cover, that's all well and good. But I think that saying that good teams win and great teams cover is a little bit overblown, particularly in the NFL where there is so much parity.
I mean, the Rams just beat the Seattle Seahawks 30-13 in Seattle. A win is a win in the NFL.
Yes.
Let's see here. One more question. Jack says, Mailbag, Sam, you ready to O'Neal lunch for your Jets bet?
You know, Jack has been chirping a lot in the chat, and I actually have to address another question that he brought up earlier, basically laughing at me, saying, "Oh my God, how could Sam pick the Jets to win the AFC to go to the AFC Championship game or win the AFC East?" Well, Jack, here's the thing. When Aaron Rodgers goes out, things change. Would you still... Okay, so I hope you weren't one of those people that were just like, if Jared Goff goes down, the season is cooked. Because Because if you are, if Aaron Rodgers goes down, your season's cooked. If Patrick Mahomes goes down, your season's cooked. If Joe Burrow goes down, your season's cooked. If Josh Allen goes down, your season's cooked. So yeah, things change when your star quarterback goes down. I get that. I'm not going to make excuses or anything. It wasn't the best pick, but things do change. It's not an excuse. It's a reason. I no longer think the Jets are going to go anywhere. They're not even going to make the playoffs. Things change when your star quarterback goes down. Come on.
Just saying, Flannel. Aaron Rodgers' last 2 games, last pass was an interception to Kirby Joseph, and he was 0 for 1 to start off the game this season. So think about that. Aaron Rodgers' last 2 pass attempts, 0 for 1, INT to Kirby Joseph.
And that's what I'm talking about the arrogance of us Lions fans. So basically, the Kirby Joseph interception undoes all of the dominance that Aaron Rodgers did to us over his whole career. Just
Precisely.
Okay, well then that's just then I don't claim any of you if you think that. Obviously, it was a great play, but you know, like I said, Lions fan, we need to stop acting like we're the only team in the NFL. We're the only team with good players in the NFL. Come on,
the
now.
Kings of the North.
They are this year.
Well,
no more Rodgers.
I'm just saying, man. I thought it was disrespectful that Aaron did not send Kirby Joseph a Father's Day card. I thought it was disrespectful. And you know what? If he ends his career in the last interception he threw was to Kirby, I think it's deserved.
Well, would you have that same energy? Does Josh Allen owe Jordan Whitehead a Father's Day card? No, nobody would ever say that because you guys just hate Aaron Rodgers so much.
I just think it was disrespectful.
Well, then keep that same energy. Keep that same energy.
Show respect to the man that owned you for last season. I just think Kirby Joseph, he deserves that respect. But regardless, we'll see it. Maybe it is the end of Aaron Rodgers' career.
Probably.
He's
40 and coming off an Achilles. He probably should retire, and I hate to say it because I wanted to see him play, but that's a bad injury.
What about this one? Mailbag Jeff asked Lucas if we still have our bet for the Lions tight ends.
Oh yeah.
James Mitchell.
James Mitchell, what did he do against the Chiefs? Brock Wright had a nice first down catch.
Oh.
But I'm not sweating anything, man.
Nasty.
Sam Laporta had 1 more yard than TJ Hawkinson on 3 less catches. I'm fine with it. They're going to open him up even more. I think there's another guy I kind of want to see step up against the Seahawks. And not that he played bad, but just have a little bit more of a role.
No doubt. Be Ruthless says Laporta is him. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for Laporta, man. 5 catches for 39 yards. I mean, it's a decent debut.
He was good.
Not bad. Second question, Jesse. JB, Jeff, what do you think about Strickland being the champ now? I think it's the UFC's worst nightmare. I think that's how I feel about Strickland.
Yeah.
I think it was an impressive win. I watched the fight live. I was shocked that I thought Izzy was just fighting to not lose, not fighting to win. That's what it felt like, JB. What about you?
I caught the highlights. I wasn't able to see the fight, but man, my heart goes out to Izzy. Like that's just terrible. The way to go out like that.
I don't even feel bad for the guy. Like I was a big Izzy fan. I still am gonna root for him, but just the style that he did and how he's reacting to, it's like he doesn't even care. It's like he kind of just cashed out. He's like, yeah, got a bag, didn't get beat up too bad. Like it's not like he wasn't getting rocked out there. But there was a couple times where Strickland got him. But I just think for the entertainment part of the UFC, it's not the best place for them to be in.
Well, guess what? This is the best place for you guys to be in. It's the Morning Woodward Show. We appreciate you for joining the show, liking the stream as well. We're 5 likes away from 200. If 5 of you could just hit that like button, man, we much appreciate it. But until tomorrow, we're closer and closer to that Lions game on Sunday, man. We'll have more topics centered around that game itself as the week kind of comes to an end here. But until then, guys, appreciate you. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, got the rest of the crew here as well. Until tomorrow, we'll catch everybody.